The icon is more than an imitation. It is a participation in the world's transfiguration by Christ. It is in itself a priestly process. The iconographer takes representative elements of all three kingdoms: pigments from the mineral kingdom, wood from the vegetable kingdom, and egg from the animal kingdom. Then, in a sacramental act, he fashions these God-given elements into religious images. Formally scattered, the materials are gathered together and formed into a visual chalice, a chalice that is both an offering of man to God and a bearer of God to man. Having finalised the design, the iconographer cuts out a piece of wood. Many layers of a brilliant white plaster-like substance called gesso are then applied. After the gesso has been smoothed flat, the design is transferred onto the surface. Gold leaf is applied where appropriate, and then the painting begins.
If I weren't part of the church, I wouldn't have that kind of understanding, I don't think, of what an icon is, of what it means. Icons aren't worshipped in the Orthodox Church. They're used as an aid to devotion and an aid to veneration of the saints who are depicted in the icon. We don't worship the wood or the paint or the gold leaf as such. It's often described as a window into heaven.
Egg yolk is mixed with water and sometimes vinegar or wine to make the tempering medium. This is then mixed with the ground pigment as the painting progresses. Pigments are mainly natural earths and stone. Less frequently, they are artificially made. The main colouring areas are then established in flattish layers, starting with the dark shades of each colour. Progressively smaller and lighter layers are then built up. The iconographer is painting with light, not shadow. He then begins metaphorically with death and ends with life. The faces and names are added last. When perfectly dry, the work is varnished with linseed oil or a tree gum resin. This process is in itself an icon of God's creation in the world. Beginning with the white and gold, which represents God's glory and light, the iconographer paints the material environment for the saint, the hills, trees, animals, buildings. It is sometimes asserted that icons have a strict code of colour symbolism, each icon having its set colour scheme, and each colour symbolising the same thing in all icons. Red is used in icons to represent humanity and the saving nature of the resurrection. It is the colour of blood, and thereby signifies life on earth. Because of its reflective properties, a white or near-white colour is sometimes used in place of a gold background. An icon's background represents the glory of God in which the depicted persons live and move and have their being. Gold is reserved for Christ and symbolises divinity. Traditional icons are gilded with gold leaf. The gold shines through on the halos and other parts of the icon. The gold symbolises the eternal, uncreated light of God and his heavenly kingdom. Yellow is warm and therefore advances. It is often used for garment trimming and furniture in icons where complementary colours are used. Without the calming and mediating influence of the yellow, the complementaries could be overwhelming and clash. Blue is the colour of the sky and therefore denotes heaven, and by association divinity. Sometimes a part of a saint's dress is blue to signify their participation in the spirit. Black is not a colour, but the absence of light. Black absorbs all light that strikes it, giving back nothing. It therefore usually represents death, rejection of God, a fallen world.
I mean, it's often thought that really the icon painter, all he does is recopy, if you like, things from the past, which in a way is true, but if one becomes more familiar with icons, you can see, although the same image might have been painted centuries ago, and a modern icon painter was painting it, although it will follow the kind of layout and the format, but it's not just a kind of dead copy of something from the past. You know, it's still a living tradition, if you like.